Good afternoon, South Arkansas. It is That's Important to Me with Cliff and Dr. Bill. Dr. Bill the Thrill.
Good afternoon.
How's it going, man?
Oh, it is going, and it is a thrill to be here
Hey,
with our listeners today, isn't
I
it?
am thrilled, man.
Absolutely.
I have gotten to where, the first few episodes, I was terrified. Could you tell?
Listen, you and me both.
I was terrified. But now I get to where I am. I look forward to being in here and sitting down with you. And
I do too. Highlight of my week.
that's awesome, man. Well, you came over directly from Ouachita today. Had a big orientation with the staff, and
we did indeed.
one
Exciting
more year to add to another one.
Yes,
And I mentioned Ouachita because this is my favorite part of the show, where Dr. Bill tells us why he's important and why I listen to him. So why don't you tell us a little bit about your, what do they say, pedigree?
Yeah, there you go. But let me just say very quickly, I think everyone is important. But
Amen.
I'm very privileged to be able to say I graduated from Ouachita Baptist University with a Bachelor of Arts in Psychology and Religion. And then I went on to seminary, Southwestern Baptist Theological Seminary in Fort Worth, Texas. I did a Master of Divinity with my emphasis in pastoral counseling in 73. Then in 75, I completed my Master of Arts degree with my emphasis in marriage therapy. And then in 1978, I received my PhD in family therapy. And then I've done further study at Henderson State. And then I got licensed by the state as a licensed professional counselor. Also, I'm a supervisor, licensed supervisor for individuals who are hoping to be licensed professional counselors. I received my license as a licensed marriage and family therapist, and my license as a licensed alcohol and drug abuse counselor, and then did a training and completed my training in hypnosis. So that is pretty much me.
It's so much.
Well,
so a double major and then a double master's, right?
Right.
And then
Correct.
a doctorate.
That's correct.
Mercy.
I tried to get my wife to let me do a second doctorate, but I haven't been able to sell her on that yet.
In what?
Well, I would do that at the University of Bucharest over in Romania. I've got some contacts over there, and I have a lot of interest. I think this might be a fascinating program for us someday on human trafficking. You know, that's a big problem today.
Yeah, absolutely. Every time we talk, I hear a different story or like there's something new I find out. It's like, I got some contacts in Budapest and
Bucharest.
Well, man, I'm telling you, we've had a great day, and I want to take a few minutes here at the top, and we have fun.
We do.
I think it's safe to say that we have a good time doing this. Again, I don't know why they let us, but we do have a good time. But it's important to me. Why we say it's important to us. That's what the show's about. To just take a few minutes and just let everybody know if you can hear. I know you're seeing what's going on with Afghanistan and what has been happening. No matter how you feel, what you feel about the situation, there are people over there right now who are in trouble, and
they need our prayers, don't
they do need our prayers, and some people who are doing underground church, which both Dr. Bill and I are pastors. Our heart is breaking for the people over there who probably won't get to come home and understand that.
Right.
And so as you pray, pray for those people over there and all of our Americans who are over there, the troops who are having to fight and secure things. No matter how you feel, I think the best thing that anybody can do at this point in our situations is pray, and so we're gonna do that. I didn't want to go any farther without actually just acknowledging that we know things are going on.
Sure.
And Dr. Bill and I were talking right as we were coming in that I have felt angry and depressed the
Right.
last few days
So have I.
from what's going on, and we always want to be upfront and honest with you that that's how we're feeling today, and so we know that you feel that way too, and so saying that, we're gonna open up the phone lines 862-1400. We want to let you know that we will take some calls today. We want people to just talk with us about what we're going to be talking about today. If you got something to say about just good wishes, well wishes, and this thing's going to be posted to the internet. Who knows who may hear it, and so we just wanted to let you know that you can call in 862-1400. Today, though, we're going to finish our conversation on depression. We talked about it last week. I mentioned that I've felt angry and depressed this last few days, and I think it's another example of how depression can come on.
Absolutely. Cliff, this is a issue that really transcends whether you're Republican or Democrat, whether you voted for President Trump or whether you voted for President Biden. We've got our countrymen over there. We've got Afghans that were loyal to us, that translated for us, and Christians over there that are just being brutally massacred. It's just horrible what's going on, and it shows the kind of world we live in. And Cliff, it seems to me that as a therapist, if you can watch this, I could not get over the horrifying images of those people clinging to the plane
Yeah.
as it was taxiing down the runway, and people literally falling off the plane
Yeah.
in midair to their death. If you can watch things like that and not be depressed, then, I'm going to have to say I think you must be pretty much burned out.
Yeah, I think definitely there's a human element. One of the that got me.
Mm.
One of the other things that got me was I think there was yesterday the pictures of them, the video of them passing a child
Oh, yeah,
up to the
yeah,
front wall
exactly.
to get into the
Mhm.
airport, and
Yeah.
my thought was I care about my
Well,
children.
sure.
And what would what would be what would be the level, what would be the straw that broke the camel's back that said, okay, for the betterment of my child, I'm going to pass them up to hopefully make it to where they can get help. At what point was that? And that, I think, shows for just, it gives some insight to how bad it must be, what they know they are about to face.
Absolutely.
And so that's just that got me.
Oh,
It's
yeah,
just been
yeah.
it's been rough to watch.
Well, it did me too. And you think, how desperate can you be to pass your child to someone you don't even know, believing that even with someone you don't know, they'll be better off
Yeah.
than they would be with their own mom and dad in that country. And that's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
It really is.
We definitely will keep an eye on those things. I have a feeling that it's going to be something that we'll talk about for a long time, and sadly, I
Right.
think it's something we'll talk about for a long time. But I also believe there's going to be some questions that people have that I don't know if we'll have the answers to, but I think we probably will be able to help you place these things in context.
Sure.
And I think as a therapist, that's probably a healthy, a healthy assessment of what happens is you're not saying here's the answer to your problem, but here's the context in which to look at it that causes you to operate in a different way around the issue.
Sure, and Cliff, you mentioned that we're both pastors. Theologically, I really do believe that it's healthy as Christians to understand that everybody gets depressed. All our listeners. If you're a listener out there and you've never been depressed a day in your life, well, I would sure like to meet you,
Yeah.
because I don't know anybody that falls in that category. And there's nothing wrong with spiritually with being depressed.
Yeah.
It is a human emotion. It's part of the fallen world that we live in, and it happens. The breaking point for depression that we always say is if you don't seem to be able to manage it after a few days.
Yeah.
If it is really interfering with your ability to work, your ability to live your life, then you really do need to get some help. I mean, I'm obviously not trying to draw up business. I've got all the business I can handle, but we certainly want to help any of our listeners that feel like they have gotten to the point where they just can't manage it
Yeah.
and need someone to help them understand what they can do. Then sure, our doors are open and we're glad to see you. But everybody gets depressed, and it's just part of the world that we live in. There's nothing spiritually wrong with being depressed.
Yeah, I think at some point too, obviously we have a place that you can come. Dr. David H. Princeton Center for Christian Counseling in El Dorado, 444-5240. But no, you can definitely come to us. Here's what I would encourage anybody who may be feeling like they are feeling, just like you mentioned, that they can't operate without it, affecting their lives in some way. Talk to somebody.
Sure.
There are times in my life where I just needed to talk to somebody, anybody, and most of the time, that person is going to be clear of mind enough to say, okay, I need to get you to help.
Well, you would hope so. Sometimes, Cliff, people act with good intentions, but they'll say something like, well, just get over it. Come on, just, put on a new face, put on some happy music. That's all you need. But, it's not that simple.
Yeah.
For our listeners that have been depressed, you know what I'm talking about. Would be that you could do that. Would be that it were that simple for you to just put on some happy music, or that you could just get over it like you change your socks. You just can't.
Yeah.
It takes some real effort, and it takes knowing what to do, and sometimes you can get that good advice from good friends that can help you, and sometimes it's a bit deeper, and you need to see someone who's trained in that area.
Yeah, I've definitely had friends who were not trained.
Yeah.
Friends who are not trained. Man, I'm battling this. Oh man, here, come over here. It's just not what you want to hear whenever you're battling stuff, man.
That's right.
I feel
That's right.
like the world is opening up a little bit more to the idea that going to mental health is not as
it doesn't have the stigma it used to
yeah,
have,
it doesn't have the stigma it does. Like, and even even now, there's I think there's a hashtag on Instagram about going to see your therapist. It's almost like a badge of honor now. Oh,
yeah.
My therapist is going to hate me this week. Just stuff like that, which we
Sure.
don't hate anybody.
No, we don't.
But
we don't.
But no, I think it's I can take the I guess the normalizing of therapy, even if it has to become part of the selfie culture. I'd rather you talk to somebody
Sure.
than to not talk to somebody. We always
Sure.
used to say when I traveled, I would talk about people who are battling suicidal thoughts, depression, and things like that. I would always say that the worst thing you can do is draw into yourself.
Oh, that's right.
Because you're
that's right.
obviously not
Absolutely.
thinking right.
Absolutely. Let me relate to you a very interesting conversation I had with a lady this week. She came up to me, and her mom had lost her husband, and it was really sad. You just, that is a hard thing to
Yeah.
lose your spouse after so many years. And so she said, I really think that she needs to talk to someone. And then she went on to say, I even told her that I would go with her if she would go
Yeah.
talk to a therapist. I said, absolutely. I said, now, not every therapist feels comfortable with a friend, with the client in the office, but I personally am of the opinion, Cliff, whatever it takes to get that
Yeah.
person in, that's what you do. You know, if a friend will come with you and that's the way you get them into therapy, that is certainly fine with me because I'm confident enough in my skills that once you get to know me, and I would say this about any really good, competent therapist, once you get to know them, then you shouldn't necessarily need to have someone come
Yeah.
with you, but I'm going to let that person come until we get a really good established rapport and the person feels comfortable being with me by themselves.
Yeah. This may be giving away a trade secret of mine. But I'm always of the mind, I don't care what the motivation is, just
Right.
get them here.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Just get them in the door. If you got to offer them pizza. You know, whatever it is, you know,
Yeah.
within reason. I want people to be able to come in because not because we're all high and mighty. Here's what I think. I want you to go somewhere because I've seen the good that can happen
Sure.
through the services that
Sure.
are offered, not just at our place, but other behavioral health places. And it's important that you find a place that cares about people. And
Right. And I want to say real quick, while I can't offer you any pizza, I can offer you a hot cup of coffee, or
we
I
do
can
have
offer
coffee.
you a cold bottle of water.
look, Miss Paula brought me cookies today,
Hey, wow, you can't
so
beat that.
we may have some cookies.
Well, hey, I can't wait for that. But you know, Cliff. Again, I just want to kind of break it down. When we think about depression, we're talking about feelings, the very things you and I talked about,
Yeah.
sadness. Sometimes people are sad for no apparent reason. They just really don't know
Yeah.
why, but they just know they're sad. They have low self-esteem. They're very self-critical. Maybe they are feeling guilty about something or ashamed of something, feeling worthless or helpless, pessimistic, hopeless. Sometimes, Cliff, people are just irritable because they're depressed and
Yeah.
they get angry real easy. There's a real fine line between anger and depression.
Yeah, I think that's probably my biggest symptom. Is if I feel depressed, I'm more apt to be snappy.
Sure.
You know.
That's right. And we could do, and we will do a program someday on anger because I always like to say I think anger sometimes gets a bad rap. There are things we should be angry about. If you can watch what's happening in Afghanistan
Yeah.
and not get angry about the desperation of these people and why things weren't smoother than they were, again, I think you have an issue. If you can look at the rate of child abuse, which is another program that
Yeah.
we'll do in the future, but if you can look at the rate of child abuse, the prevalence of child abuse in our country, and not be angry about that,
Yeah.
something's wrong with you.
That's right. Absolutely. I didn't understand this until I had kids.
Oh yeah.
But even if I watch a movie where somebody is mistreating a child,
Oh.
there is this anger that wells up inside of me,
Right.
and I
understand
get
that.
so frustrated. I don't like it. I don't understand it, and I think that's what you're talking about. There's
Sure.
that. I think righteous anger
Oh,
is what you would
Oh, sure.
what you would
Oh,
call
sure.
it.
Oh, sure.
Well, look, we're going to have to take a quick break, pay a few bills, and then not doctor bills, but other bills. I'll just buzzer myself. So we're going to take a quick break. We're going to be back in 60 seconds. You are listening to That's Important to Me with Cliff and Dr. Bill on 94.3, 1400 AM, KELD.
Murphy USA and UAMS will be hosting a free mobile COVID-19 vaccine clinic tomorrow from 10 till 3 in the Mac employee parking lot at Murphy USA corporate headquarters, 200 East Peach Street in El Dorado. 2 vaccine options will be available. Must be 12 or older. Minors must be accompanied by parent or legal guardian. Pre-registration online at accessarcla.com. Walk-ups are welcome. As an incentive, Murphy USA will be giving away $50 Murphy USA gift cards to the first 100 people to receive the vaccine and additional drawings for other prizes. We'll see you tomorrow.
Local radio. We're giving businesses something to talk about.
The emphasis in digital marketing budget and how it's spent, there's probably a loss of that connectivity and the intimacy with your general public that you can gain that back very quickly with the reach that radio has.
We're the #1 reach medium. More people tune into radio every week than watch TV, smartphones, tablets, etc.
Stay connected to your audience. Local radio. Call today, 870-863-6126.
Welcome back. You know what I just realized?
What's that?
We have the same bumper music when we come back in as the commercial for Sean Hannity.
Well, how about that?
Moving on up in the world.
That's right, our claim to greatness. So Sean Hannity is listening to this. He should feel very, very good, shouldn't he?
Well, he should feel happy that his show bumper is the same as That's Important to Me
There
with Cliff
you go.
and Dr.
That's
Bill,
right. That's right.
which
That's
happens to be the show you are listening to right now. We are thankful that you have stuck with us through the break and that we were talking about a topic that is one of those hard things to talk about, but it's depression. And we just mentioned anger, how, when I feel depressed or down, I'm more likely to be snappy and my, normally that comes out
Right.
around my family.
Sure,
and
sure.
I hate that so badly, but it's also helped me understanding it more. It's helped me to catch it.
Yeah.
When I'm about to, like, when something about that like that is about to happen, I can catch myself a little better, and too, the people around me didn't do anything to make me mad.
That's right. That's right. But Cliff, going back to something you said earlier, I was just remembering things that can make us angry for good reason, and we talked about looking at the situation in Afghanistan,
Yep.
the plight of the people there, abuse of children, human trafficking gets to me. It makes me very angry. But I remember I was doing a anger management group for the court system in Clark County, and one day in the session, I had taken my lab, my chocolate lab, and she was laying there on the floor. Sleeping, which is something that labs like to do a lot.
Yeah.
And one person said to me, Dr. Visor, I'm curious about something. What would you do if you saw somebody kicking your dog? Well, I said, you know what? I said, that guy better be Mike Tyson, because I said, I am coming after him. That would really, really make me angry. So some things we need to be angry about. I remember in college once, I don't know if you ever had this situation, but my office, oh my gosh, my office was a absolute wreck. I mean, I had piles everywhere. Back when Chandra Levy was missing, I told people, I said, she might be under one of those piles, I just had so many piles everywhere. And But seriously, if you, and those of you listeners who are a bit like me then will relate to this, if you ask me for something, a piece of paper, document, give me 5 minutes and I could find it.
Yeah.
I knew what pile it was, pretty sure what pile it was in. Well, one day I looked at that and I said, this is just madness. And so I was so angry and so mad that I got in there, and I cleaned that office up till it was spotless.
Yeah.
Now, practically killed our janitors because, there was about 6 tons of paper that they had to carry out in the bags. But the anger motivated me to do
Yeah.
something positive
Yeah.
about a negative situation. And then, Cliff, when I looked at the office, it was so nice to look at how clean it looked.
Yeah.
There were times I could hardly wait to get to my office when I opened the door because it all looked so nice and neat.
You always feel better in a clean spot.
Well, you do. And so my point is that sometimes anger can be used in a constructive way.
Yeah.
It's not always negative, but most of the time it is negative.
I always say this, and I'm probably wrong, so you're the professional. Tell me if I'm wrong.
Okay, I'm listening.
I say all emotions can be good so long as they lead you to the correct place.
I don't have a problem with that.
So if anger leads you to clean your office,
Sure.
I think anger can be a healthy thing.
Sure.
And-
If anger with the local, and I'm not saying El Dorado, of course, but if anger with a political situation led you to say, you know what, I need to get involved, I need to make this right, I'm going to run on this particular platform, and you get elected and you can change and turn things around, then I'd say that's a very
Yeah.
healthy use of your anger.
I think I say that to a lot of people, and then so that's just in reality, and it can be used in the secular world. If your emotions lead you to the right place or lead you to something better, it can be healthy. I say that also in as a pastor, if your emotions can be healthy if they lead you back to
Sure.
the Lord. Like
Absolutely.
That's
well, emotions are God-given.
That's right. People always say, well, when I was growing up, my dad would be like, what's a Bible verse? And I'd be like, Jesus wept. You know what I mean? Like I'd always say that one because it was the shortest one.
In the beginning, God created the world.
Yeah, I think it's
That was in the
John. What is it? 11:35
Yeah,
is Jesus
yeah,
wept.
yeah.
And I was like, I'd always say that, and he would get frustrated at me. But look, Jesus wept. Okay, like
Sure.
he was.
And you don't weep unless you're sad.
Yeah, and so I know it's emotions are okay. I think those emotions get unhealthy when they lead us to bad places, which is what depression is.
That's right.
And I always say this too, and I try to tell people when they come in, because I say this, like, I'm not a therapist. I do pastoral care.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you come talk to me, it's going to be just like if you were at a church and you came and talked to
Talking
me.
your pastor.
And there's some people who just want to talk to me, and I'm trying to get them to the professionals as quickly
Right.
as possible. What I always tell people is, look, it is important. People think that cleanliness is next to godliness.
Right.
They have all these things that their grandmama told them and they think was in the Bible.
Yeah.
One of my buddies, his name's Shane Pruitt. I will try to have him on the show one time, but he's a great guy. I wrote the foreword on his first book he wrote, but he has a book called 9 Lies Christians Believe, and I think it's for everybody because growing up in the Bible Belt like we all have these things that we believe the Bible says cleanliness is next to godliness, and
Right.
God helps those who help themselves. The thing is there are things that we have in our lives, like, my grandma would always be like, clean your room up. And I'd be like, I don't want to clean my room up. But man, when I was in my room and it looked like trash, I always felt worse.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I
And I
do. I
think
know
there's
exactly what you're
something
saying.
to that of
Sure.
getting things around you not clean, in order.
And organized.
And when things are in order and organized, there's not another thing that you have to worry about and you have to be concerned with, and that just adds to the depression. And I always say you can't draw back into yourself because you're obviously not thinking right.
No, that's right. And I know a lot of our listeners can identify with what I'm going to say next. When you're needing something and you can't find it, and you're looking all over God's creation and you just can't find it, that can be very frustrating.
Yeah.
And it can be very stressful. And then all of that can just make you, really can make you depressed. So being able to put your hands on what you want and what you're needing at the moment, I can't say enough good things about how important that is. That's for sure.
All right, so let me ask you this.
Okay.
Is there a correlation? Have you read anything about where we are and where you live as it relates to being depressed?
Sure, absolutely. There have been a lot of studies that have shown where high density areas, heavily populated areas, areas with a lot of noise, a lot of crowding, all those kinds of things can really get to you as far as depression is concerned. There's a very interesting study that's been done about depression and what the depression rates are by states.
Yeah.
They've even done that.
Oh, let's hear that.
Yeah. So you're going to be interested in this. The number one state with the highest depression rates.
Louisiana.
Oregon.
I can see that.
And especially today with all their
I could see
burning
that.
and looting and trash and mercy. West Virginia is the second one.
Definitely could see that.
Yeah. Maine is the third one. That's where Stephen King, I think, lives in Maine, doesn't he?
Makes
I don't know
sense.
if that has anything to do with that or not. But number 4, listeners, get ready for this, is Arkansas.
We made it.
Now let me share this with you.
Oh,
Arkansas's depression rate is 23.2%. So again, 4th highest in the country. In 2017, 621 people died by suicide in Arkansas, which made that the leading cause of violent death in the state that year. According to the Behavioral Health Barometer for Arkansas from the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration, about 46.5% of adults diagnosed with a serious mental illness in Arkansas receive mental health treatment or counseling, leaving over half of those diagnosed without treatment. Now that's
Unreal.
sad, Cliff.
Unreal.
That's really sad.
That's why I'm doing what I'm doing.
Well, I was privileged to grow up in a good, godly Christian home with a mom and dad that were really good, decent, God-loving people, loved our country, loved one another. Cliff, they always taught me if something's wrong, do something about it.
Yeah.
And that's what I try to do with my life. And I look back over my life, and I've lived a pretty good long while, as I like to say, my students in Bible survey, when I talk about Moses parting the Red Sea, they think I was there, that I saw it, witnessed it with my own eyes. But I've lived a good long while, but as I look back over my life, the greatest joy I have is the fact that I feel like I have been able to make a difference in some people's lives. That's all I really wanted to do, and that's all I really want to do.
Yeah.
And so it grieves me deeply that there is over half the population that has never gotten any help. And my heart goes out to our listeners. If there's someone listening this afternoon that says, wow, that's me. Oh, please come in. Let us help you. Let us see what we can do.
Those numbers, I was listening to the suicides in the year, almost 2 a day.
Yeah.
People committing suicide.
Yeah.
Being at a point where they believe that the better alternative is to not be here.
Oh, sure.
Well,
that's
unreal.
what we say that suicide is, and we'll do a program on that one day, but suicide is a permanent solution to a temporary problem.
Yep, that's right.
But let me share one more statistic with you about Arkansas that I think you'll find interesting concerning high school students, okay? 40% 40% reported feeling sad or hopeless almost every day for 2 or more weeks in a row.
My
Now
God.
that's compared, if you want to put this in perspective, listener, that's compared to a 31% national average. So, what this says to me, Cliff, is it says that, look, we better wake up
Yeah.
and we better realize that there are a lot of people that are hurting out there that need a lot of help. And we just need to be sensitive to people who are hurting and be listening and caring and concerned and encourage them to get the help that they need, even if you have to go with them.
Yeah. Man, I'm 40%, over 40% of students in school,
That's
you aren't,
4 out of every 10.
yeah, you're not just talking about, and this is for everybody listening right now, that statistic is true. You're not just talking about the kid who walks around down all the time,
No,
head down.
no,
You're talking about the child who is laughing,
sure.
the life of the party. You're talking about the child who is doing well in school, getting straight A's, on the basketball team, on the football
Cheerleader.
team, a cheerleader.
Right.
You're not just talking about the one that you quote expect that is. You're talking there are people who you would never believe, which is why you so often hear when somebody commits suicide, you so often hear, man, I had no idea.
Cliff, we talk about this in classes, and I will ask the students, I'll say, how many of you know someone who has committed suicide? Now, these are freshman students who have just come out of high school. It's rarely do I have anyone in the class that doesn't know someone that committed suicide. Now, look, when I was in high school, I was, besides my grades, I was concerned about who I was going to have a date with on Friday or Saturday night, or whether my band was going to have a gig,
Yep.
that weekend.
What was the name of that band?
The Sweet Lemons. So listen, did I ever get depressed? Why, sure, I got depressed some, but I never got to the depressive state that I wanted to commit suicide, and,
Yeah.
and this is, it's just another day. I don't think parents can quite grasp what what their teenagers are dealing with today. It's just nothing like what I had to deal with when I was a kid as a teenager.
I reference the study all the time, and I need to find it, and I will before next show, because I'll tell some people where to go to actually find the study, to read everything peer reviewed. The fact is that they did a study on students aged people right now today,
Right.
and they took a study on the parameters for stress, anxiety, and the level of stress that they were under in today's age. If it was in the 20s, they would have been institutionalized.
Oh, yeah.
So the levels of stress that our kids are under today, whether we think it's self-induced or a sham or whatever,
Sure.
the level of stress that is identified today, if they were living in the 20s at that age, would have been institutionalized. There's something that's different, and if we don't change what we're doing and recognize it, then you talk about over 600 people committing suicide. That level, it's going up.
Oh,
That was in
absolutely.
2017.
Absolutely. And the thing that I'm seeing today, and I feel this in my own heart as well, I don't like this wearing the mask. I don't like the social distancing. I don't like anything about this COVID-19, and I especially don't like anything about the Delta variant. But even at Ouachita, they're telling us, okay, so this first month, we're all going back to masking, and after the end of September, we're going to revisit it to see whether we need to continue to do this. Well, you know, Cliff, people that I know are so sick and tired of all of these regulations that we have to do that they just are ready to scream. And then, of course, you've got the division between people who won't get the vaccine and say, not in your life am I going to get that vaccine.
Yeah.
And then you got people mad at them because they didn't get it. So that's dividing the country. And it's just a mess. And this is what gets people depressed and gets them angry. And it's just, I think, very, very rife in our country.
Yeah, and I think it's something that I would say we're going to have to live with for a little while longer.
Well,
and
that's true.
The crazy thing is what I tell people all the time. I have a lot of things that I think. I could do a 4-hour show on my opinions about where we are today, about the mask thing, I can do that. I can give you those, and I can articulate those fairly well. And I do articulate those to my family and my friends. But publicly, what I always tell people is I feel like I have a responsibility to put things in context and then say, here's how we deal with them. Here's how we work around with them. So what I would say is that there are tons of people who are frustrated on both sides. Both sides believe they are absolutely right. There's no room for them to be wrong. And then here's the reality of it. So whether it's right or the wrong, whether it's right, whether you're right or wrong, whether the other side is right or wrong, the reality is it's causing some things in our kids that we have to get a handle on, and not just our kids, but our adults. Right. These things are causing fear, depression. The lockdowns hurt a lot of people. And I'm not saying something that I don't know about. I'm saying it because I've lived it in the clinic. It hurt a lot of people. The suicide rate went up 35%. And so my goal in this is to say, okay, I have what I think, but if I just spout off what I think, it's not going to change. But what do we do about the reality that the suicide rate's gone up 35%? These people are more depressed than they've ever been. And my here's what we change. We have to start talking to people. There are people who feel like you do, and there are people who are going through what you're going through. And my dad always said, it's putting your arm around people saying, here's how I got my rear end kicked, and here's how I got through it. And if we can do that with enough people, we're going to be okay.
Well, absolutely. And you know, Cliff, the reality is that there are a lot of people out there that have really dealt with serious depression and have gotten through it and have come through it.
Yeah.
And they can be a real help if you'll just reach out to them.
Absolutely.
So, you know, I just, on two different levels, I just want to say to our listeners, number one, please be on the lookout for people you know that are showing signs of depression.
Check on your friends.
That's right. And, you know, encouraging them, you know, sometimes giving them a hug, you know, listening to them is so very, very important. And the other dimension is that if you are, as a listener, if you are depressed, then, and you've tried everything you can to shake it, then for heaven's sakes, don't throw in the towel and say, well, this is going to be my lot in life, and this is just what I'm going to have to deal with. I might as well live with it. No, there is an alternative, and there are people out there that can help you with that.
Absolutely. Well, we're going to come back from a break. I think you have something for us when we get back. I kind of blew through it here. You're listening to That's Important to Me with Cliff and Dr. Bill on 94.3 FM, 1400 AM, KETH. LD.
September 11th will mark the 20th anniversary of the terrorist attacks on the U.S. The El Dorado Professional Firefighters Local 1074 and the National Fallen Firefighters Foundation will be hosting a 9/11 Memorial Stair Climb, 11 a.m. till 3 p.m. on September 11th at the Union County Courthouse. 9/11 stair climbs are not timed events, but a way for the community members, firefighters, paramedics, EMTs, and law enforcement officers to pay tribute and remember FDNY and those who selflessly gave their lives so that others might live. Participants will climb the equivalent of the 110 stories, 1,980 steps of the World Trade Center, carrying the name and photo of a fallen hero to symbolically complete their climb. Participants can climb one story or all 110. Registration information can be found on Facebook at El Dorado 9/11 Memorial Stair Climb or by calling 870-881-4855.
Murphy USA and UAMS will be hosting a free mobile COVID-19 vaccine clinic tomorrow from 10 till 3 in the back employee parking lot at Murphy USA corporate headquarters, 200 East Peach Street in El Dorado. 2 vaccine options will be available. Must be 12 or older. Minors must be accompanied by parent or legal guardian. Pre-registration online at accessarcla.com. Walk-ups are welcome. As an incentive, Murphy USA will be giving away $50 Murphy USA gift cards to the first 100 people to receive the vaccine and additional drawings for other prizes. We'll see you tomorrow.
Welcome back. It is That's Important to Me with Cliff and Dr. Bill. Thanks for staying through the break with us. You can also hear this episode, tell your friends. It's going to be uploaded onto accessarcla.com. You can look up the podcast that we have here. And
or some of our past podcasts.
Or some of the past shows, definitely. You can listen to all those. If this interests you. Here's what I want you to do, too. I'm going to give you the phone number again. You can definitely call. We can talk through some things with you. We got just a little bit more time here. It's 862-1400. You can definitely call in. Also, too, if you have an idea for a topic that you would like us to talk about, you can call the radio station, 862-1400, and give us a topic. We'll talk through those things, do some research, and have it on for us. We actually have already done that once. We had somebody here at the station asked us to talk about gaming and cell phones.
That's right.
And I won't tell you who it is because their family may be listening.
Well, very interestingly, Cliff, I ran into somebody who said when we were doing our show on anxiety, he said, my wife wanted to call in to ask a question, but she was too anxious. So I guess we didn't do too good a job, alleviating her anxiety so she could call in and ask a question. But, Cliff, I want to say something real quick before we get away. Even the Bible talks a lot about depression. Of course, it uses different terminology, but in the 43rd Psalm, verse 5, King David said, "Why am I so discouraged? Why so sad?" And then he wrote, "I will put my hope in God."
Yeah.
So, I can't say enough about your faith. I can't say enough about how important it is to be in a good Bible-believing group of believers in church on Sunday morning. These are imperfect people just like everybody else, but I think for the most part are very loving and caring and would do most anything to help someone.
Yeah, that accountability for me has been invaluable.
Oh, absolutely.
And I'll tell you what, we imperfect people is the correct word. I've messed up a lot in my life, and
you and me both.
And I for anybody that me messing up has caused their faith to shake, I apologize about that. My goal in life is to be a person that people can model their life after. Paul, man, he said, if you want to know how to live, you live like me. And look, I couldn't say that for a lot of times in my life, and I feel like maybe we're getting closer. But man, I tell you, there's nothing like putting your faith in somebody who's not going to let you down. And
that's right.
I would say to do that.
And you talk about Paul, and I got to say real quick, I like so much about the Apostle Paul, but I certainly like what he said when he admitted. He said, "The things I should do, I don't do, and the things I shouldn't do, I do, and the things I should do, I don't do. Oh, wretched man, who can deliver me?" Paul was conflicted in his failure to do things always the right way, and I think our listeners can relate to that. I know I certainly can. I certainly share that conflict weekly.
Absolutely, and I know that if you're feeling a certain way today, we talk about a lot of things, and a lot of times whenever you talk about stuff that's hard to talk about, it opens up wounds.
Sure, it does.
And people start feeling a certain way. We invite you to just call 870-444-5240. My wife Leslie is there. She can talk with you and get you set up to be able to see Dr. Bill or Dr. Gunner or Miss Paula. We've got a bunch of people down there that can help some people, and we definitely believe that there are a lot of people who can help, but we are there ready to stand on guard and to help. And so I would say, Dr. Bill, if for that person, if there is somebody out there right now who's listening, and we're kind of hitting every, we're saying
Stepping
things
on their
that,
toes.
I tell you, if there's somebody out there right now feeling depressed, maybe even, has contemplated suicide, like, what do you say? I mean, what do you say over the radio?
Cliff, I'll tell you what, the hardest thing you could do would be to walk over and just pick up your cell phone and dial in the number that you just gave them and make an appointment. Statistics have shown that, and I always ask my students this as a question, statistics show that the minute you make a call to set up a therapy appointment, you start getting better. So I ask my students, I'll say, now how can that be? You haven't even had the therapy session, but you're starting to get better just because you made the appointment. And they said that's exactly what it is. It's knowing that you finally are taking a step in the right direction. You're doing something about it. So that's the hardest thing you'll have to do is make that appointment and then get yourself to your appointment. And I promise you, I have never had yet anybody run out of my office screaming, blood-curdling yells, oh my goodness, I'll never come back and see that guy again. It is the really a calming, soothing experience, I think, for people that finally are getting the help that they need.
Absolutely, and I can be a witness for that there's nobody running out screaming. Running out? Yes. Running out screaming? No, I'm just joking. Dr. Bill is one of the best in the business, and he does a wonderful job. I would say, too, if it's not us, call somebody.
Well, sure. We're not the only people that are doing this, But Cliff, I just think that we are bombarded today by so much negativity. We hear so much criticism. I remember, and I've tried to do this as a teacher, as a professor. There was a book called Schools Without Failure by Glasser, who was a well-known psychiatrist in his day and time. And one of the things that William Glasser said was, you never get a paperback from a teacher that says, great job, you did really well. I really liked how you said this. Wow, way to express yourself. It's usually, and I've been guilty of this, big red checks, and you didn't address this, and telling you all the things that you did wrong. No one ever tells you the things that you did right. And once I read that, it's changed my whole approach in teaching, and now I am much more affirming of my students. Now, I'll still be critical to a point, but I'm much more affirming than I used to be. And we live in a society that I'm afraid, Cliff, is not very affirming.
Yeah, I think so. I think there's that balance in affirmation and giving everybody a trophy.
Well, that's right. Well, let me give you a good example. I was reading. I'm a big fan of Tim Tebow. Now, I sure wasn't a big fan of his when he was playing quarterback for Florida.
Yeah, and I followed the same path.
They clobbered Tennessee, but they were making a big thing on the internet about how he had just been released by the Jaguars. It just seems like every time that guy makes a misstep, the press is there ready to pounce on him.
Yeah.
So we've got girls today that if they don't have a perfect figure, they feel ashamed of their body image. We got guys, if they're not the leading athlete, if they're not sought out by every college in the world,
Yeah.
or the U.S. for scholarships, there's something wrong with them. I mean, we hold ourselves to such a impossible standard,
Yeah.
and people are very quick to criticize us if we don't achieve perfection.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, with Tim Tebow, I did not like him at all whenever he played Arkansas. I remember the game, and people are going to know what I'm talking about, and I should talk to a therapist about this.
Here I am.
But the game where Mark Curlis, if you ever know a referee's name, it's not a good thing.
That's true.
But he basically, I'll tell you this. It was so bad, Arkansas went down to Florida. It was so bad that they suspended the whole crew,
Oh, wow.
the officiating crew, for like 2 or 3 weeks. And so I didn't like him then. I thought that he
You
always
don't care for him now, do you?
Well, I love the guy.
Do you?
I love the guy.
Hey, there you go.
I love not Mark Curlis. I still pray for him every day. But no, Tim Tebow. It's
yeah,
so wild
sure.
because he does something good
He does.
and they get mad at him. He does something,
yeah.
he fails and they get mad at him. It's like, brother,
Yeah.
I'm telling you,
You can't win for losing.
can't win for losing. I think he's a good guy. He does more charity for people than
He
what
does.
anybody ever know.
He really
and,
does. And he's a great moral leader for our young people as well.
And here's the deal too. When he doesn't succeed, it's never a negative thing. Even he got cut from Jacksonville.
Yeah.
He got cut, and his statement after he got cut was, "Hey man, we knew that God was in control and he's going to get the glory.
right.
I'm thankful
That's
for the
right.
opportunity."
That's right.
And
That's
and
right.
I think that's what a great way to live.
Oh, I think so too. You know that if it doesn't work out the way you hoped it would work out, that there are better things ahead. And
Yeah.
and that's what I'd like to say to our listeners who are depressed today. Look, I want to tell you, the sun is going to come up tomorrow. There are better days ahead. There really, truly are. You may say, "Oh, you have no idea what my situation is." Look, whatever your situation is, it can get better, and it will get better if you just seek out the proper help.
A lot of people, I put "don't quit" on everything.
That's right.
I put two
Absolutely.
things. I put God wins and don't quit. And
Amen.
the God wins is we had whenever my father passed, that was a huge deal. And it, I still struggle with some of it, but just because I miss them. I had a person come in the
Sure.
office today and said, "Is this the David Preston who passed away? Is this his office?" I'm like, "I'm his son." I was so proud to say I'm his son
Sure.
because this person
Absolutely.
was impacted so positively by my dad. But when he passed, it was hard. And there was a friend who sent us a deal that said God wins and said, this. And, he was I guess, playing to our understanding that, in the end, if I believe, if what I believe is true, that it's going to be okay. I'll see my father again, and that's what I
absolutely.
believe, and so God
Absolutely.
wins. And then don't quit was whenever he passed away, my dad wrote on legal pads when he would do his sermons and take any types of notes. And one of the last things he was working on whenever he passed away, it was on the bed, and my brother Hutch found it, and it was a sermon he was working on. In the very end, it had a quotation mark that said "Don't quit."
Amen.
And it was like, man, okay, I ain't quitting. My dad from the grave was telling me don't quit. I tell everybody, don't quit.
That's right.
Things things can and have a tendency to get better.
That's right. I don't know how far KELD goes as far as transmission is concerned, but I'll be willing to bet you money that your dad has heard our broadcast today, and he is very proud of you.
I appreciate that. That makes me feel good, brother. Listen, there's the music. It's always great. It ain't Peter Frampton.
Nope.
But it is great.
Or Phil the Thrill.
The Sweet Lemons. Listen, thanks so much for staying with us today, for listening to us today. I hope I didn't break anything. We will be back next Thursday with a brand new topic. If you have an idea, call 862-1400. Stay locked in to 94.3, 1400 AM for Fox Sports next, and then Drive Time Sports with Randy Rainwater and Rick Schaefer coming on after that. Listen, don't quit, everybody. You've been listening to That's Important to Me with Cliff and Dr. Bill. We'll see y'all sometime.